right, everyone, thanks for tuning in. This is your host, Omar. We are here once again at COP28 in the beautiful Expo City in Dubai. And I must say, I'm very excited about our next guest, who turns out, coincidentally, that we went to the same elementary school. So very, very happy to introduce the next guest, who is a pediatric epidemiologist. We are here at the studio with Dr. Seham Elmrayed. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you, Omar.
So what a great coincidence. Turns out we spent time right around the same area, same schools.
A bit crazy. I'm tempted to do the math and actually calculate the odds of
Right.
that being a possibility, Asla.
Libya, out of all places.
I know.
All right. Now, I'm also very excited about this because we're approaching a different angle from many of the episodes that we had done here. First of all, to our viewers, explain to us, what is exactly an epidemiologist, if I can even say it?
Okay. You have one guess.
I have one guess.
Yeah.
I would say that you specialize in researching causes of maybe diseases, illnesses, sicknesses. And
There you go.
Or did I get it right?
Wow. Yes.
Really?
Almost what
Okay.
Google would give you as a definition. So, yes, the pediatric.
That's because I Googled it when you weren't looking. So.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Makes sense because almost nobody gets it the first time. I spent 10 years in university studying this, and I still have to explain it to my own family members.
Okay.
Very often. So the pediatric component has to do with basically applying epidemiological concepts, but to the pediatric population, so kids, okay, to simplify that.
Right.
The epi component, we abbreviate it as epi, but it's really the science of epidemiology, has to do with, we want to understand how do diseases spread, because we believe, or we make this assumption in this science, that nothing is a coincidence and that there is an explanation for why a certain, for example, disease distributes differently in or across continents or countries or even regions or towns or...
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, it's very interesting because I want to know what is the link between things like child growth, obviously, which you specialize in.
Yeah.
You guys look into pre-pregnancy, the pre-pregnancy stage, and the risk factors on the fetus development.
Absolutely.
How does all of that tie into COP28, which is where we are?
Yes, yes, absolutely. So the thing is, people may not think of these links as direct, but actually human health, especially that paid by children, is really the highest cost of climate change. We like to think of it as a cost because it's perhaps like a negative consequence of climate change is what children have to go through despite them not having any decision-making power in this whole القصة يعني كلها. So when, let's say, a lady falls pregnant, she's exposed to everything that's taking place in the environment, and we knew very little about those effects, but with advancements in technologies and medical advancements in general, we're learning more and more about these connections and how even air pollution can actually directly impact the size of the fetus. So the development of the fetus before they're born is directly impacted by the air quality that the mom is exposed to. Do you see that?
Absolutely.
And when they're born smaller, they're predisposed to certain metabolic complications, their heart, their lung function, everything is impacted. And we can see some of those effects actually tracking into adulthood. So some studies now have, let's say, followed cohorts from when the pregnancy took place to when the baby was born, and then followed that child to up to 5, 6, 7 years of age. Some actually reached 13 and some even older. And we can clearly see that link throughout life, and this is considered to be a powerful research approach because you get the temporality, you get the time component, and you can really see the effects short-term and long-term. This is just one way of how climate change can impact fetus development or fetal development as well as child development. When you're born with certain predispositions, يعني هو الطفل لسه أصلا يعني فاهم قصدي، هو قاعد بس مولود وهو يعني مصيره الصحي بيتحدد بأمور أثرت على فترة الحمل.
No.
Not only it's unfair because that fetus has no say in all of this, but at the same time it's the baby, it's the child, it's the future adult that has to bear the consequences.
Right.
That's why we try to push at COP and such events to really make that link clear and to highlight that cost as much as possible.
It's very interesting what you say, because even when we were talking earlier off the record or off the camera, I was trying to create the own link in my mind, and you gave me a great example. Obviously, with some of your roots being from Libya, you're saying, for example, the flood that happened in Libya.
Absolutely.
So tell us, I mean, in an event like that, obviously that would, encourage the spread of illnesses or diseases. So tell us a little bit more about how it actually works in such an event.
Yes, that's actually the thing. So if I were to summarize, okay, how does climate change actually impact health in general, but more specifically child health, that effect is mediated through weather changes, okay? What do you mean by weather changes? Is something that we're all very exposed to nowadays: heat waves, altered rainfall, meaning يعني بنشوف مطر في وقت ما نتوقعش نشوف مطر، أو بنشوف جفاف في وقت احنا متعودين نشوف مطر، يعني altered rainfall. Also flooding is something that's mediated through weather changes. فالeffects or weather changes هذه have consequences. Let's say the floods in Libya, like you mentioned, certain I'll try to use a simple example. Certain mosquitoes actually find flooding, or flooding provides them with a
perfect medium.
Exactly, a perfect environment for them to flourish, as different insects. And these insects are disease-carrying insects. So let's say in Libya, we don't have certain diseases, or they've been eradicated. It's not going to be a surprise to see them coming back and to see them re-emerging. Why? Because these weather changes are going to be allowing them to have more of like a, I'm trying to think of tropical. Yeah, tropical is the word. Like, you have a Mediterranean context that's now having more and more tropical trends. And this is going to mean, a better environment for such tropical diseases to actually exist in areas where يعني ما شفناهمش قبل، زي malaria، زي cholera، زي غيرها. فهذه one way. Another way is, so the insects is one way. Another way is also waterborne diseases. يعني لما ال water sources are compromised through flooding, so you have a safe drinking water and you have, for example, sewage and unsafe water in general. You have that barrier being compromised, so you have water pollution and you have waterborne diseases that are much more likely to be spreading because of that. You have food insecurity spreading because people are having their livelihoods shattered, access to food, access to land. Also, nutrition is a marker of health. يعني the minute that's impacted, the minute you're, just imagine a situation when you're exposed to certain diseases that are actually making the body lose nutrients, such as food and waterborne diseases, but at the same time, you're exposed to food insecurity, you're exposed to limited food options and limited access. Some people in Libya with the flooding, يعني الموضوع ياخد 48 ساعة 72 ساعة حتى مش الناس يعني تطلع من الأماكن المتضررة أو إن هي توصل في أقرب نقطة وإن هم ممكن يكون عندهم support. الانفراستراكشر طبعا كانت heavily impacted، فحتى المعونات اللي كانت بتوصل لأهلنا في دارنا for example in Libya, it's not a straightforward process. يعني فالاحتياجات هذه تأثر. يعني تخيل children that need that sustained access to nutrition, sustained access to clean water and all of that, and being directly impacted. Right.
Now, the floods that we saw in Libya, and again, I know we're talking about Libya quite a lot, but I'm personally very curious to understand that has that area, that particular area, where was it? I think it was in
Darna, Sharq Libya.
Right. Have we seen any events like that in the past, or was this a complete one-off?
Yeah, actually.
Is the area known for that, in other words, even milder versions of these types of floods, or was it completely out of nowhere?
Much milder versions, yes. لأن هي جغرافيا منطقة على البحر، وهي منطقة يعني like a valley, you think of it. فهي جغرافيا معرضة، ولكن الإعصار اللي صار اللي هو نتج عليه اللي هو الميديكين has tropical actually features that resulted in this. So the storm itself that resulted in these floods يعني كانت unique وكانت first time for sure.
Right. Now, going back to the spread of the diseases, I understand that, from your side, you guys try to understand that. What are some of the preventative measures that could be taken in such events? God forbid another natural disaster like that happens. What should people be aware of in order to, mitigate or limit the spread of some of these diseases?
سؤال صعب جدا.
Right.
والأصعب منه إجابته هي ممكن تتلخص، لأن الموضوع هذا ممكن الكومبلكسيتي متاعه I perhaps find it very difficult to actually summarize that. But if I am to say, let's say لما كنا نتكلموا مع المتضررين في ليبيا، لو هنستخدم الإكزامبل ده this one again, it really has to do with just, for example, vaccinations. Vaccinations in emergency or health emergencies is a really important first step, because you have some vaccines الشخص already بياخدهم وهو صغير, بس you have boosters because you want to make sure that the immunity is actually at peak power. This is one way that I find to be very preventative and powerful. The other thing is,
especially if you live in certain areas of the world where you're vulnerable to these natural disasters or spread of diseases.
And also when you're adapting to something new, because that's when you need your immunity to have like a heads up يعني.
Sure.
ففي الفاكسين بوسترز وفي أيضا فاكسينز الشخص ممكن ما يحتاجهمش في العموم، بس يحتاجهم بشكل أكبر لما يكون متعرض لأمور زي national disasters that can result in the spread of certain diseases. فالتيتانوس for example, when you work with pollutants في الطبيعة، حتى كانت للناس اللي فرق الإنقاذ، ومش بس الناس اللي تعرضت ولكن حتى الناس اللي جت مش تساعد وكانت موجودة في الكونتكست. You just need to protect yourself. This is, I would say, like a key public health measure. Of course, other ones would just take a great level of awareness of the do's and don'ts, and just like, for example, make sure you drink safe water is a huge one. If you have access, though, this is why it's complex, because sometimes in this situations like this one, what should be done, but it doesn't actually mean إن ممكن على الشخص في ظرف صعب زي هذا مع قلة الإمكانيات والكوارث الطبيعية ما تعطيش فرصة للتجهيز
صحيح
بالقدر الكافي. هو يمكن التجهيز لها طبعا، ولكن مش سهل.
Of course, there's always that element of surprise that catches you off guard, of course. Now, what sort of initiatives are being put in place here at COP28 that supports improving the overall scenario? So you're obviously here at COP28. What is it that is happening? What is it that you're doing exactly? And I believe maybe even with trends.
Yes, with trends, we actually launched a book that specifically looked at climate challenges and future directions, where we discuss some of these points. What can be done? What can be adopted in terms of change at the policy level, at the systems level, from the healthcare perspective, to help us be better prepared, but also to help us design or improve how we design ideas as well as action plans towards better, hopefully, prevention rather than
facing the reality of it when it's too late.
Exactly. So it really has to do with just at this level, you do need collective action. You need political will. You need policy action with a clear direction.
Do we see any of it? Is there at least a little bit? Is there enough?
I think at events like COP28, you do see something positive. You do see it, and because I've been at COP a couple times now, I do see the progress. Yes, it's slow. Yes, it may not actually be في المستوى اللي احنا نتمنى نشوفوه، واللي هو محتاجينه كactive citizens with a cause. But at the same time, I would say things are happening. I like to always believe in human resiliency and the fact that at the end of the day, this is our planet. That's all we have. No planet B, as they say. And I do think that more and more attention is being given to things that actually matter.
Right. Now we're down to, I believe, the last 3 days of COP28. What would you like to see change, or what would you like to be able to take away from COP28 before it ends? If you can talk to the people behind COP, what would you like to ask them?
I think I'd like to see more emphasis on youth. I would like to see more children at COP, more young people at COP. I see lots of us, people who already spent 10 years doing academic work and research, and we're all
Right.
super excited by these topics, but we already know, I wouldn't say a lot, but we know a good deal
Sure.
about this. But I'd like to see those who can actually make an impact, the day-to-day choices that young people make nowadays. They are the ones, as I said, who will be facing these consequences firsthand and
Right.
already facing it firsthand. I would like to see more of that. I'd like to see more of, just like a community engagement sort of, approach to the climate crisis.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Doctor, it was an absolute honor to have you here. Very, very interesting insights. Definitely certain things that I personally, didn't come across in the past, but it's very good to hear that. And we definitely look forward to having you here once again. I'd love to maybe have a catch up in the next COP to discuss some of the initiatives that might have been put in place, some of the improvements from the previous ones, such as this. So can we have yet another interview in the future?
Of course.
All right, sounds
Pleasure's
good.
all mine, Omar.
Dr. Seham, thank you very much. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That was another episode of Trending Echoes brought to you by Trends Research and Advisory. I was your host, Omar, and we'll see you in the next episode.